This is my injury case studies assignment where we'll be looking at two different case studies of professional athletes who have been injured and how they have reacted with that injury. So the first scenario is a grade 2 sprain of the ankle ligaments, and as an example I've used Jack Wilshere, who's a professional footballer. And so basically the scenario is that he's rolled his ankle in the final game of pre-season. The immediate responses to this would include like pain, swelling, maybe some redness. He thinks nothing of it. He trains with his teammates the next day. However, in that training session, he gets injured again on the same ankle. He goes to the club doctors, and they say that he has suffered a grade 2 tear to the ankle ligaments and will be out for the next 6 months. So, when we look at the different stages of grief that could be experienced in this kind of situation. The first one we look at is denial, and this would be kind of maybe felt because he trains the next day. He thinks that there's nothing wrong, maybe nothing too serious to worry about. He then moves on to bargaining, so he trying to kind of bargains with himself. He tries to fight against the pain, take some painkillers, straps up the ankle maybe. Just to try and give it some more support and to try and reduce that overall pain that he's feeling. However, if that doesn't work, he could move on to anger. When told he could be out for up to 6 months, maybe even longer, and will therefore miss at least half of the Premier League season, which is one of the biggest competitions in the world, especially in England. And then that could trigger depression or kind of isolation. He may feel depressed due to the length of the injury, kind of unable to play or train with his teammates. And then, yeah, as I said, this could lead to him feeling lonely and potentially isolated. And then the final stage, acceptance. He kind of comes to terms with the fact that he will be injured for a long time, and then kind of focuses on working towards getting back fit and regaining his place in that first team. So smart targets. These may be introduced maybe with the help of a physio, and these kind of is just something to work to. So we have short term here. I've said keep a positive mindset because if you're kind of in a negative mindset, it's gonna slow down the recovery process. It's gonna reduce motivation. I've also said small daily exercises. These will help to kind of keep treatment up, build some strength within that joint, and so that he's working towards getting back to his long term goal, which would be kind of playing. I've also said attending training and matches, again to avoid the feeling of isolation and being lonely. And then another one, enough sleep, so at least 8 hours, as this will really help to kind of aid that recovery process. So some mid-term targets, start to build up some match fitness or fitness levels in general, kind of aiming for 80 to 90% of the levels that you were before the injury. I've also said regain the ability to pass and shoot with that injured leg, so kind of more tactical and technical abilities within football. And then kind of review the targets that were set at the start of the injury. So reviewing those short-term targets, have you achieved them? Reviewing the mid-term targets, have we achieved them? As this will help to boost those motivation levels if they have been achieved. And then finally, long term, train fully with teammates, kind of get back to training, integrating into the group, and then appear in a competitive match. So maybe for the youth team, kind of under 23s or even reserves, just get some match time, game time at a competitive level. And then finally, the main aim at the end of it all is to get back into the first team and play in the Premier League. So some strategies that may be used throughout the process. So I've put staying involved, kind of as you spoke about before, attend training or matches, give team talks maybe, help with analysis of games, and these kind of techniques will all remove the possibility of feeling isolated and being alone because you're still integrating with your teammates and like communicating with them, even if you aren't playing or training with them. And then another strategy I've used is imagery or self-talk. So you need to stay in a positive mindset, as we said, to kind of boost the recovery process. And this will allow recovery to be quicker and you're more effective because you have the motivation to want to get back playing. So for these images, like these self-talk, you may see a professional psychologist, or you might be able to kind of do it on your own or with somebody from your club, and then play through the scenarios in your head. So it might be scoring a goal, or creating a goal, or playing in a good pass. You play through all these scenarios in your head that you imagine of you getting back, and that makes you want to kind of be back even quicker. And so then finally, the stages of healing. There are 3 stages. The first stage is inflammation. So this is kind of the immediate response, happens within 2 to 5 days. You may experience redness, swelling, and pain, as we said. You then move on to the repair stage, usually with this kind of injury around 4 to 7 weeks. And this is where you're kind of just building up the strength in that joint, making sure you're able to kind of balance on it, improve stability, and then obviously get back to full range of motion, moving in all different directions. And then the final stage, up to 6 months, possibly even 2 years of some injuries, is the remodel stage. So this is when the joint or the injured kind of part is strong enough to play on, to train on, maybe to put to weight on, but that scar tissue within that joint or that muscle is still forming. So scenario 2 is a different type of injury. It's a grade 2 hamstring strain. And as an example for this one, I have used Ross Barkley, who is another professional footballer who actually suffered a grade 3 rupture to his hamstring. But we could kind of use the same kind of process for a grade 2. So scenario, just returned from a grade 2 hamstring strain, been out for the past year trying to recover and get back playing. It's his first game back in the Premier League, and the same injury reoccurs. And again, he'll be out for another 6 months. So with this one, not so many stages of grief. I've included anger, because he's just come back from the injury. He spent so long trying to recover so that he can get back. And now, his first game, experiences the same injury and will have to spend even more time out and go through the same rehab that he's just been through. I also include depression because, as again I just said, he has to go through the same treatment and rehab journey as before. He maybe doesn't know if he's going to ever be able to play again without his hamstring being a problem. And possibly the thought of kind of maybe retiring early comes to mind, which could all trigger these kind of irrational thoughts. And then the final stage, acceptance. He kind of realises, no, I'm too young, too talented to retire. He wants to come back better and stronger, and so he does everything he can to make the rehab as quick and effective as possible. So again, some short-term smart targets. Kind of the same as the last scenario, really. Keep a positive mindset. It's going to improve motivation, get back quicker. The small daily exercises to build up strength and stability. Attend training and matches to avoid the feeling of isolation. And then we've said get enough sleep again, 8 hours, as this is when your body really has the best time to kind of recover and repair and overall aid the recovery process that you'll be going through. Midterm, again, start to build up some match fitness so that you're ready, kind of building up fitness levels, again, 80 to 90% of what you were before. Again, regain tactical and technical abilities, so passing, shooting with that leg. And then, as we said before, review the targets that were set at the start of the injury. Have you managed to build up match fitness? Have you got your 8 hours sleep? Have you got a positive mindset? These will all help to boost the motivation levels of that athlete so that when he gets back, so that he can get back as quick as possible. And then finally, with the long term, train fully with the teammates, get back to training, integrating with the group, building up the kind of more technical and tactical abilities. Appear in a competitive match, again, maybe for a youth team or reserves, and then get back into that first team playing in the Premier League. So for this case study, I've used some different strategies. So we've got stay involved. So like we said, attend training and matches, give team talks, help with the analysis maybe. And this all just removes a possibility of being isolated. I've also included keep a diary for this because You might want to keep a log of how treatment is going, and especially with this injury, seeing as he's just had it before, he could then compare this time around, this rehab process, with the last time, the first time that he went through it, and see, am I doing the same? Am I doing better? Am I doing worse? Because if you're able to see that, yeah, you are improving even more, it's just going to boost your morale and your motivation. And then I've also used stress relaxation. This is when you use techniques to express and release your emotion. So you kind of use your stress to motivate you. You kind of relaxed helps you focus. And just some of these techniques, kind of like you may be using a stress ball, boxing, listening to music. And then finally, the stages of healing. So the same as the last one: inflammation, immediate response to any injury, redness, swelling, pain. Lasts between 2 and 5 days. You then move on to the repair process. 4 to 7 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, maybe shorter. You're building up the strength and the range of motion and the stability and all that within that joint, so that you are able to kind of stand on it and play on that with that injury. And then finally, the remodel, up to 6 months, as we said before, maybe a bit longer, especially in this case because he has kind of just come back. He wants to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So in his first game, he doesn't suffer another injury. So he might want to take a little bit more time out so that he is 100% sure that that hamstring is not going to kind of tear again.